So good morning. It's Sunday, March 26th, 2017. I am Barbara With, and you are here with me and the Party of 12. Partyof12.com is where you can find all things Einsteinian from beyond the grave and news from the Party of 12, and of course information about conflict, revolution, our imagined Einstein's miraculous process for world peace, one person at a time, starting with you or me. I'll start with me, you start with you. So my mission this year with my 2017 12-part reboot series was to find places where Einstein's path that we've channeled and researched and experimented with for the past decades crosses paths with other knowledge and other bodies of knowledge. And to that end, I was all prepared to have a wonderful woman on the show today named Leslie Stewart. She's an author and a channel. She wrote a book called Trust and Allow the Process of Life in Joy. And that would be capital I-N dash capital J-O-Y. So enjoy and enjoy. And I was really looking forward to doing this show on joy, but something happened, and so I moved her to the April show, and there were a few coaching sessions that I did and a conflict of my own that inspired me to devote this entire show to presenting Revolution 101, Conflict Revolution 101, the most basic way to teach conflict resolution, step-by-step instructions aimed at absolutely beginners, people who have never heard this information before. And even though I wanted to gear it for beginners, I know that this will help the rest of us out who have been doing this process ad infinitum, literally for decades for some of us. It'll help us to remember the power of being a perpetual beginner. Because sometimes when we're lost in these overwhelming feelings that are very uncomfortable and our thoughts are out of control, one way to make the shift back into control of your own domain and to start the revolution is to go back to square one. Start at the very beginning and review what you know and take baby steps as if you're a beginner. So my challenge with this is that after having presented the unified field theory and the maps of human consciousness literally over these past decades, it is an enormously complex system. And it works sequentially. So describing how matter is made manifest one step at a time from nothing into everything is a really big undertaking. So I'm so close to it, and I just don't trust myself to know what's necessary and what's not, because I'm always going to go deep. It's just my nature, because it all seems necessary to me. So I called up two of my certified coaches, Cathy Kline in Columbus, Ohio, and Cordova on Bainbridge Island in Washington State, to help me craft this simple vision. And they're going to be joining us in a while to share some of their own conflict revolution stories. But when I called them, I asked them each two things. First, what is the simplest way to explain conflict revolution? What are the bare minimal elements of this whole huge unified field theory and maps of human consciousness that are needed in order to show someone how to do it effectively? And then the second question was, how do we as trainers inspire you who are learning it to, when you are in those moments and those bad emotions are surging and your thoughts are out of control, what will inspire you to actually take a different step and make a different decision that's going to move you towards your revolution? Because those moments of overwhelming emotion and out of control thoughts are the actual place where we do the work of conflict resolution. Because Conrev is all about catching yourself in the act of making a decision that is not good for you. And it's about doing something different in that moment. And when we change our energy that deeply, we are actually helping to change the way the entire system operates. And the more we make these conscious decisions like this in those moments, the more we're working for the good of the whole, first of all for us, and then for the entire situation. And then each time it becomes easier and easier in those conflicted moments to not only decide to make a different choice and do something else, but then to actually do it. So that's what it's all about. So after talking to Cathy and Robin, the bottom line was give them step-by-step instructions that are simple and easy to understand, and then teach through example. So the best way that I can inspire anyone to do conflict resolution is to do it myself, get the miraculous result, and then turn and share that with people who need inspiration. Because the truth is, in that moment, you are the only one who can make that decision. I can't get into your head and make you think different things. I can't force you to breathe emotion through your body. Only you can make that decision in that moment. And those are the hardest moments in which to make them. And so much of our culture and the way that people have traditionally resolved conflict is either sitting down with the person and now you're going to have we need to talk through our issues. And sometimes that works for a while, but it doesn't get that deep. So this movement of conflict resolution is helping each individual find this peace within the self, and by doing that, then we contribute on a global level to the collective consciousness of peace as well. So I had a couple of conflicts that the original conflicts that excited me, that made me want to do this. Something happened a few days ago with Cathy, where she was actually in that state of overwhelming emotion, runaway thoughts. And so we did a revolution, and it was so remarkable that I've decided to revamp what conflict I'm going to bring, although there's so many good ones to share. And I want to, at this time, tell those of you who are listening, whether you're here with us live or you're listening after the fact, bring a conflict of your own to this listen. So it doesn't have to be any particular conflict. You can learn conflict resolution using any conflict that you want. But I like to advise people to bring one that entails another human being, because it's a lot easier to look in the mirror of a human being and see yourself than it is to look in the mirror of, say, war, financial crisis. It's not impossible. I have done every kind of conflict under the sun. But if you use somebody in your life, it'll give you a better opportunity to see yourself. So get a pad and a paper, because you're going to be writing down stuff, and you can work your conflict along with us. We will then, at the end, you will leave with your own action plan, something that tomorrow morning, before you get out of bed, you can have it right there by your bedside. You can start your day with your prayer of gratitude. Thank you for another amazing, miraculous day of life. I fully intend, set your intention to watch myself today, and here's your action plan of what you're going to do, the decisions you're going to make. So also name your conflict. That is the beginning of creating what we call sound bites. And sound bites are essential because your imagination and your intellect and your reasoning can talk to you ad nauseum about whatever you're obsessed about in a conflict. And you can go on and on and on and on and on in your head, and we all have done it. So when we start to develop these sound bites, we're paring down meanings, we're getting to a simpler place, and naming it is the important piece. Every conflict for me is a case study. So I can just say, oh, the headache project, or, oh, I am a liar, and I know the whole conflict. So name your conflict. Now, we are going to start with step-by-step instructions based upon my conversations with Robin and Cathy the other day. This is what I have come up with. This is what we have come up with about the most simplistic way to understand conflict resolution. The first piece is that this is one-sided work. This is not conflict resolution where you sit down and you make sure you have good sentence structure and tone and you look in people's eyes and you try to resolve something. It's not that. This is one-sided work. In fact, the ground rule is basically your domain is your responsibility. So it is not your responsibility to take care of somebody else's conflict. And someone else is not responsible for taking care of your conflict. Your domain is your responsibility. And the value that we use when we're doing this one-sided work, the values are to be non-judgmental. Remember, this is a science experiment. It's not a priest telling you you're bad or good. Non-judgmental. Passion. That in this life, we have to train ourselves that we have not only the right to feel all of our feelings, but we have the responsibility to feel all of the emotion that is flowing through us. And that is passion. That's what passion is. Because we'll find out as we go forward that emotion is really the creative juice of the manifestation of everything physical. But to us personally, it is our life force. It's the first dimension in the building block of who we are. So we have passion, creativity. Remember, this is a creative process. So we're looking outside the box. We're pushing us to think in new ways. We're canoodling with metaphors that are going to reveal themselves to us. So we need creativity. And then the last is humor. So if you can't laugh at yourself, we will. And you are free to laugh at me because humor is so important to get us out of that stuck place sometimes. So when you find yourself being very judgmental, shift over to a non-judgmental point of view. And one way to do that is to purposefully, if you're judging something as bad, purposely find the good in it. Or if you're clinging to something that's so good, purposely find the bad in it. And then you have a whole picture, so you're non-judgmental. And when you're lacking passion, then get in touch with emotion, because that'll get those juices flowing again. And when you're stuck, reach for your creativity. So this is the basic description that we're going to work with of who you are, the picture we're going to paint. And you are 3 human dimensions. You have these 3 human dimensions that work together to create your ability to have this human experience in this physical world. And quite simply, think of it as a wave that starts at your feet and it flows up through your body, all the way through the top of your head. And when it comes out the top of your head, it goes around again and starts again at your feet. So there's the flow of your life force. It's like a string. And these 3 human dimensions are emotion, which is located in your solar plexus, intuition, which is located in your heart or your chest area, and intellect, which is located in your head. So now you have 3 separate places that we're also going to begin to associate with those things. So we can begin to separate those three human dimensions from each other, because we have all been operating as if it's just one big crazy mass of energy. And it's very hard to tell, well, what's intellect? What's my emotion? So often we're thinking about a feeling, we're thinking about a conflict, and we think we're feeling it. Well, there is some emotion in there. There always is. But this is going to help us separate them and understand them and understand their roles clearly. So then the last piece of this puzzle is what we call the witness. Now, that is the part of you that has the ability to step back and watch your emotion, intuition, and intellect, to observe those three human dimensions. So to you, maybe you call that the observer of self. Maybe you're looking at your human self from your soul self. Maybe it might feel like dissociation. But that witness part of you is going to be the part that really helps facilitate making that different decision in those conflicted moments. Very basically, emotions or feelings in the solar plexus, this is not just what we typically think of as emotions: sadness, happiness, joy, anger. And in my new book, Einstein et al., there are 2 solid pages in 9-point type of emotion. And there's a whole huge range of emotion. Now, we've only been taught to feel the good ones, and then even that is kind of, I was never really taught how to do that effectively. But Conflict Revolution, we're going to learn how to feel the entire range of feeling, because that's a way to get the flow moving. And that's the whole thing, is we want to have this circular flow of our string constantly moving through us like water. And emotion is the fuel. It's the primordial soup, as it were, of energy. That's the beginning step of the creation of the physical world through our bodies, our perception of it. So at that level, there's no thinking, there's no reasoning, there's no reasons why you feel this way. There's nothing to do about it. There's just the pure, unadulterated emotion. As that flow moves up now into the heart, where intuition is situated, what we have is emotion now becoming a voice. So our emotions guide us. And intuition then becomes the voice of what we call compassion, with a capital C. And in Conflict Revolution, compassion is the 5th fundamental force of the universe. It is the intelligence within us that is impelling the creation of the physical world, which is really the garden, the earth. One step at a time, starting with 0 and sequentially walking into infinity of the universe. So compassion, among other things, impels us to work for the good of the whole system. You might call it God, a goddess, the universe, whatever you want to call it. It is the life force that at its root is programmed to take care of all parts of the entire system, creating all parts of it. So within you, with the voice of emotion, of intuition, it is telling you the next step to take, the next decision to make that's going to be good for the whole situation that you're in at that moment. And it's important to redefine intuition here as something that, first of all, everyone has it as part of their functioning system. And secondly, it is meant to tell you what to do in present moment. It's always sending you signals: beat, heart, breathe, those kinds of subliminal impelling. But it's always telling you what is the next thing you can do that would be best for the whole situation. And making decisions for the good of the whole, that's compassion. where you take care of yourself first, and then you look outside yourself and you see what everything else is needed, and you make a decision to the best of your ability that will benefit the whole situation. And that's what we're looking for here. And it starts with these 3 human dimensions. So when we understand how they all work together, and we begin by taking care of ourselves, we come back to the physical world whole, aligned to compassion, ready to be that peacemaker, ready to contribute to world peace, and not just work from our ego or from what we think should be intellectually. Okay, so you've got this emotion, it flows up into your chest area, becomes your intuition, and it's impelling you, telling you to take this step. And then when it flows up into the intellect is where all of the descriptions of the physical world lie. So yes, within you, you have emotion that is going to be the chair. And as it flows up into your heart, and your intuition says to that part of you, go be a chair. And it gets up into your intellect, there's a description. And it starts out, I am a green chair sitting in the corner in Wisconsin in 2017, blah, 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 blah. But then it flips like the lens of an eye or a revolution to that is a chair in the corner. And that is a very basic explanation of how these 3 dimensions work. And all of this is projected through your body, and it's perceived by your body. So even though the chair is in the corner over there, I'm looking at a chair, it begins within me. And so what happens in the intellect, however, is that all of these thoughts, imagination comes in, rationalizations, patterns of thinking that you don't even know you have, that were drilled into you as a child or a baby even, you pick up. And for those of you who believe in past lives, sometimes we have thoughts, feelings, senses, memories, just energies of past lives coming through us, infiltrating our thinking process. So when you get triggered by a negative emotion, you also trigger generally degenerative thoughts that wed to that emotion, and that becomes our reality. So I was working with a woman the other day, and she was saying, I'm so mad because Shirley she will never, ever, ever stay 1 minute longer for her shift to help out. She just won't do it. She's this, she's that, she's this. And I said, well, did you ask her? Well, no. Well, why don't you ask her? So she called her. Oh, yeah, I'd be happy to, she says. So how long would that client have walked around with this angry emotion, married to this thought that Shirley never does anything? How does that affect your relationship with Shirley? Clearly. Our job here is to keep all emotions flowing, listen to that intuitive impelling, and then intellect, instead of rationalizing and projecting and getting all clogged up with imagination, intellect is meant to hear that impelling of intuition and then make the decision to take action to fulfill that intuitive impelling. Because here's the glitch. Free will operates in the intellectual arena. You don't make a decision with your solar plexus. You don't make a decision with your heart. You actually implement decision making in your intellectual area. That's where free will takes place. So your intuition can be telling you, rest. And your intellect can be saying, no, I can't rest. I don't have time to rest. If I rest, all these bad things are going to happen. And then make the decision to keep working. And that is the conflict. That is the basic kind of conflict that we first resolve within ourselves, and it changes everything.